Truth is making a comeback. America's Top Stories with Lisa K. Donner.
The jury is seated in a Virginia federal courtroom in the high-stakes trial of Paul Manafort. President Trump's former campaign manager is facing charges of tax evasion and bank fraud. But thus far, nothing has surfaced in Manafort's case regarding the Russians. Mueller claims to turn up the heat on Manafort to get him to play ball in the so-called Trump-Russian collusion investigation. In a harsh rebuke to Mueller's team back in May, federal judge T.S. Ellis III said he was concerned about the prosecution of Manafort. Quote, "The vernacular is to sing, to turn the screws and get the information you really want. Will Manafort play ball? Does he really have anything to sing about?" Joining us today is Liberty Nation's chief political columnist, Tim Donner, no relation, with more on the Manafort trial. Tim, is there even a shred of evidence that suggests that Manafort has something to sing about?
Well, perhaps the thing that Manafort has to sing about is that infamous meeting that he sat in on at Trump Tower between Donald Trump Jr. and that Russian woman promising dirt on Hillary Clinton during the presidential campaign. But that may be a dead horse. It's been examined by special counsel Robert Mueller from every angle, and there's no evidence that we know of indicating that the promise of dirt was anything more than a head fake by that Russian woman to lobby for a change in a law that the Russians don't like. And the reality is that politics is a dirty game, and people offering political candidates dirt on their opponents probably happens 100 times a day during the election season.
Could perchance Mueller have a political motivation for prosecuting Manafort?
Well, that's what the judge in this case, T.S. Ellis, already stated, that going after Manafort was just another way for the special counsel to take down the president of the United States, even though we have no indication that Manafort has anything on Trump which he could use as leverage to keep himself out of prison for a very long time. The government is using Manafort's consulting partner, Rick Gates, as leverage against Manafort. Gates already pleaded guilty to similar charges, and he's cooperating with the government. He's their star witness. So on one hand, this is a political prosecution, of course, by what many are calling a fourth branch of government because a special counsel has such broad powers. But on the other hand, a special counsel can hardly just ignore any crimes he may uncover in the course of an unrelated investigation.
As one who follows these things closely, what do you suspect are the possible outcomes in this case?
There are many possible outcomes depending on what kind of dirt they get on Manafort or already have from Rick Gates and others, including, by the way, the Democrat political consultant Tad Devine, who testified on the first day of the trial. The prosecution has 35 witnesses lined up. So it appears they may have a mountain of evidence that Manafort evaded millions of dollars in taxes while he indulged in a jet-set lifestyle, paying millions in cash for homes in the United States and all manner of expensive goods like a $21,000 watch and a $15,000 jacket. And it also depends on whether the jury of 6 men and 6 women views this as a political prosecution or legitimate charges that warrant Mr. Manafort spending possibly the rest of his life in prison.
That's Liberty Nation's Tim Donner reporting from Washington.
Truth is making a comeback. Visit us at libertynation.com.